good afternoon to you. Right, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're active on X. And like I advertised earlier, the last hour, I want to talk about food security in Rivers State. So, I don't know if you've observed like I have. Rivers State, in the 90s and the early 2000s, was known for, its oil and gas sector. A lot of people wanted to work for the multinationals. That sector was one of the, if not the most thriving sector in Rivers. There still is. However, there is this sector that is thriving, and it looks like almost everybody wants to get into it, and that is the real estate sector. And so a lot of people are not buying land, and they come on this station and they talk very much about it. And River State used to be a state that was really green, in the sense that when you walked through the streets of Port Harcourt way back, you would see trees, you would see flowers, you would see all of it was indeed the garden city. But what do we have now? We've felled some of those trees, and we have concrete. We have a concrete city in Port Harcourt. We can count the number of places. I remember growing up in the city of Port Harcourt. The Stadium Road access was mostly bushes, and I can say forest area, right? I remember even Olu Obasanjo at some point was not as concrete as it is right now. And because we have almost, if not all of the Port Harcourt city area is now concrete, there is what we call the greater Port Harcourt, right? And so we've moved and we have extended Port Harcourt into Obiakpor, and we're now seeing a lot of places and communities in Obiakpor becoming concrete as well. And so I began to think, what is happening to food security in Rivers State? I also remember back in the days that if a person visits the village, yes, maybe the person would part way with wads of cash, wads of naira, but eventually the person will be leaving the village with bags of food items, like a sack of tuber of yams, a bag of gari, for instance. Maybe, depends on where your village is located, you could come back with a bunch of plantain, and that was what it was like back in the days. But then we saw the migration from the rural area to the urban area, because like I said, at some point the oil and gas sector was what thrived and what was in vogue. I believe it still is, and a lot of people wanted to go into that sector, wanted to do white collar, and nobody taught blue collar anymore. And so we've had a reduction in the number of young and able farmers. I think sometime this year I visited a Che community, and there was one protest in one community. I can't remember the community now, and the people who were protesting were mostly the elderly, not very elderly, but advanced in age and all of that. And it got me thinking, what is happening? Because HA is the food basket of Rivers State, and if we have the young people not necessarily in their numbers looking at farming, then what is the food security like in Rivers State? And so when I woke up this morning and read this report, talking about flooding and the after effects, the people in a particular community still feeling the effect, it got me thinking, this is the story. An agri consultant, Charles Okoro, is calling on the Rivers State Flood Management Committee to hasten the implementation of his post-flooding programs. Mr. Okoro said this in an interview as flood victims continue to count their losses weeks after floods ravage their communities. Now, I would have loved to play what Charles Okoro said, but my focus is what this flood victim, a victim and a fisherman from Kunusha community, Awuda West local government area, Enoch Egbo, said about the aftermath of flooding in his area. Take a listen.
Like this time, we're supposed to harvest all those fishes this time, December time. But when the flood came, now entered the flood was overflow, so the net are used to fence the place. Some of them get spoiled. And those, as everything has gone, to start up is a big challenge now. The empowerment will empower or will give us a loan. Most part is a loan. We used to help ourselves to get all our fishing nets and my pond, so to buy all those small fish at the market and put it in the ponds again. If the government can do that, it would be helpful to us.
Now, that's a fish farmer, right? So you want to also think of what has happened to crops, like cassava, the various crops that must have been planted in various parts, like Awuda East, Awuda West, the Orashi region, basically. You want to think about what must have happened, as a result of flooding. Now, while we are thinking about that, I just read to you not too long ago, while bringing you the business news, that food prices are very much expensive. In case you've forgotten, do take a listen.
Festival now. Market is going on now. Yes, everybody's buying, like tomato, people where they do occasion.
So in terms of the patronage, some persons are actually meeting up to buy, while some cannot afford it. Because if you look at the price that custard of rice is being sold now, definitely when things are high in the market to an extent, it affects the sales.
Yeah. The number of customers, the rate of customers patronizing us got lesser from like 2 months ago or 3 months back.
No sell like before. No sell. It's because of inflation, market increase every day by day.
All right, so basic economics, when supply overwhelms demand, or rather when demand overwhelms supply, there is the tendency that it's the item, the produce is going to be expensive. And so it's believed that when there is too much, an excessive supply, and it's more than the demand, there is competition, and competition usually, many a times, leads to the road of reduction in prices. There's also the issue of, we get to import almost all of our produce from outside of the state. And so there is a tendency for food items to now be out of reach of the common man. So we're looking at food security, and the question is looking at the various factors, because from my presentation you can see that it's not just one factor that is responsible for food insecurity. I mean, of course there is in some places in HA the complaints of destruction of farms by some vicious people. But when I do come back, we'll talk about this and many more. Do stay tuned.
Stay with us, Nigeria.
Yes, 4:30 p.m. We're talking food security. I've mentioned, the effect of real estate and agriculture, the effect of migration from rural to urban areas, and migration as well. I've mentioned the issue of flooding, insecurity as well on agriculture, and of course, I should mention, if I haven't, the fact that we're still using old patterns of farming and agricultural activities. That we're still using the old patterns, and we've yet to modernize. We're yet to get, we get to the point where we can use machines to help in agricultural produce. So the question is, a lot of, before the question, maybe I should say, a lot of things maybe could have been cheaper if food was very much affordable. Two basic things: where to live, what to eat, usually is what drives a man's expenditure or a family's expenditure, right? Where to live, what to eat, very basic. Those are the things that are basic to many families. And yet again, if food was not as expensive as it is, I do believe that to a large extent, just maybe, the economy of River State will not be as expensive as some of the people interviewed by my colleagues have made it seem. So how do we ensure food security? What strategy should we employ? I know a lot of you will call governments, but what can government do in this situation? The last we checked, the government set out a process, a plan, a strategy to revive the Shongai farm. But is that enough? Let's even assume the Shongai farm is reactivated. Is that enough to ensure food security in River State? What can we do? It's a very good question I'm asking on the show, I believe, because we want to get food security. Why are people no longer as interested? And trust me, it's a very lucrative business if you want to do, agric as one, as a business. It's a very lucrative one. So why are people not interested in that? So it's a conversation I like to have with you, just getting your thoughts and picking your brains as we talk for development. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 081923-0007. WhatsApp number 0809-030-6416. Food security. Why? I mean, if you ask a child, what do you want to study in the university? Not many of them think agricultural related subjects, right? When you look at businesses, not many of them think in that direction. Then how do we go about ensuring we've got food security in River State? When we say food security, we're not just talking about scarcity. We're not just talking about availability. We're also talking about, how expensive it is or how affordable it is. So what are your thoughts? I'd like to hear from you. Ezekiel is calling from Ubimini. Ezekiel, it's good to have you. Welcome on the show.
Good afternoon, Canada.
Yeah, welcome.
Talking about a solution for fuel, food security, right? Well, if you ask me, Mr. Canada, I would say that let there be focus at the area of the rural areas where the crops
What kind of focus are
and
you?
some foods are being manufactured to the urban areas.
What kind of focus are you talking about?
I'm talking of concentration to the farmers in the rural areas where they can not only work with machete and the hoes. Let there be full concentration and orientations to the villagers who thought that it is only to use farm and the hoe and the knife or cutlass. Because the government, especially the Thank God that the local government have gotten their autonomy in finance. So let them focus on their wards and communities and still give them the orientation sensitization on what food production is all about. Then when we come to the state level, let the governor or to whom it may concern establish what I call zonal factories. Just like even here, I think our zone in this area seems to be Amok or Elele or Ahuda. All these areas should be cited a kind of food production factories so that the people on that zone will focus on it and also focus on their own local production.
All right, Ezekiel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All
right, Braid from Old Diary. Braid, welcome. What is on your mind? Let's get your thoughts.
Greetings to Mr. Batubo.
Yeah, greetings
to all listeners and happy Xmas in advance. Yeah, Mr. Batubo, food security. Yeah, I think what we should be able to do, they should look at the flashpoint. Every area has a peculiarity. Now, where I hail from, which is the River Rand, they should be able to look at deep fish farming and also upgrade as such that there is a cold room built at the various local government headquarters, whereby they get to the deep sea and the canvas, there should be a place to preserve it before the buyers come into the market to get it. As by so doing, there should be provision from the local government. You see, we shouldn't leave everything for federal government and state government. The local government should also take some of this responsibility and also see how they could be able to protect those facilities that they put on ground. Like sometimes we have the Bukuma fish farm. If you see when they will open that fish farm, you see people trooping in to get fish to go out and sell. I think it was a very good thing. But suddenly, that gets out of us. And it's not foreigners that come and displace that place. It's still people within that houses. So I think we should think of how to also protect whatever facility that has been provided by the government, or even sometimes individuals can also come into mechanized farming, and such that within this southern area, by now we should have gotten a cow farm where they are rearing cows, and such that as time goes on, don't even capitalize on outsiders to get all these specialists.
All right.
So it has to be a different specialist.
All right, Braid, I've got to go.
We can easily get, if these things can be done, I think it will enhance food protection.
All right, thank you, Braid. Braid, well said. I've got Clement from NTA Road. Clement, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Clement.
Yeah, welcome.
You remember the Rivers State Economic and Summit?
Yeah.
The Economy Investment and Summit, something like that, that happened earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually attended that program, and honestly, I was expecting that by this time, after about 5 or 6 months, the program head, at least 1 or 2 government agricultural or one thing should be happening in River State. But up until now, I'm not sure I can think of anyone yet. Now, we hear government about vehicles, gun boats for the police.
Yeah, gun boats.
And I think it was in the news recently that he's also doing for one of the great agencies. And all this is to help the security agencies to perform better. If I'm correct, please help me.
Yeah.
Now, what is the cause of security in any environment? Joblessness. You are busy buying equipment for security.
But we need, but we need security. Don't we need security?
I believe should be solved. First, agriculture. If the governor had also, I'm not saying they not involved in security, but also buy one, at least, the money you spend in security can buy at least two tractors for each of the local government in Rivers State.
But Clement, you've not answered my question. Don't we need security?
We need security what causes insecurity, if it has been solved, then the police, I usually say this, the police are overwhelmed because there are some things that are not done. That means you are putting too much pressure on the police if you are not helping the youth to be productive. The police definitely have more jobs to do. So if you have more youth as tractor operator in our farms, more youth using tractor planter, tractor digger, tractor as in the mechanized thing that we are talking about. If you attend that Rivers State Economic Summit, you will understand what I am talking about, because we have brilliant minds all the way from wherever they came from to say things that the Rivers State can buy into. You know, they gave us blueprint. They talk about the blue economy. They talk about so many things, Mr. Caladan.
All right,
However,
I've got to go, Clement. Summarize. All right, so I guess you couldn't hear me well, but let's come to WhatsApp while I'm still taking your calls. Rogers Okabie from Orabali says Governor Simfobra should consider agriculture, example, fish and gari, available to Rivers people to prove his love. To prove his love, you said. Let's come. Edison says, very simple. The governor should meet the commissioner of transportation, let him supply him those boys he used as task force, as men that will be farming something in the bush so that we can all eat. Imagine if they channel their agberoism straight into planting cassava. But let's listen to Hector. Hector is calling from Ogbogo. Hector, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Shiki.
I've said good afternoon, Hector. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Food security, production of food in our state. I want to go this way, because sometimes it may seem or sound funny, but I think we should still redeem it or in it. We cannot leave everything to government since government is already failing, right?
Okay.
Yes, government is already failing. Now, when we talk about food security, we can also look at the private organizations and other non-governmental organizations like the church. And whenever I make mention of the church, people attack me, even on social media. I say, look, if our big churches, the mega churches that we have, can invest in education, big schools, secondary and universities, and these schools, mind you, they are also business, their investment, which the church also make money from. Now, if the church can also use that same energy, resources that they have, acquired land, and go into massive agriculture, food production, it will help the society. The church will still make more money, and there will be employment for both graduate and non-graduate. And there will be massive food production, because we are not relying on individuals or government to produce food again. But the church is also doing that. It will be now, when that happens, if the church can give this consideration, those big churches, honestly, I believe there will be massive food production that will be affordable and available for the society.
Right.
But whenever I come up with this topic, some persons will, just laugh at it and say, why am I calling the church? It is not their duty. But is the church not there to solve societal problems? That is my question. Is this not part of societal problem?
All right.
If they can invest in education, schools, why can't they also invest
in agriculture?
That's
all right.
My question.
All right then. All right. Thank you very much, Hector. Hector is saying that the church, religious organizations, basically should get involved in agricultural production. But let's come here. This one says, good afternoon. Louis in Rupoku. As for me, I will blame the government for whatever food security that we are facing in River State because of their policy. Because right now in River State, the farmlands in our villages are now for real estate, and the acres of land that was meant for farming cassava and other crops and now real estate. And even for those that manage to collect a loan from the bank to invest in the farming, you have to pray seriously against herdsmen with their cows, because when they visit you, you are now leaving at the mercy of God to help you pay back that loan. All right, thank you very much. Let's come here. This one says, for us to achieve food security in the state, then we must carry out the following steps. 1, provide adequate security for the local farmers who no longer farm because of the fear of attack by cattle rearers. 2, those into real estate should allow farmers use the land they have acquired for farming pending till when those lands are sold to individuals because there is inadequate land for the local farmers. 3, soft loans should be given to farmers to enable them get tools and seedlings. Woike Odinaka from Elele. All right. This one says, the only solution to the problem of food security in Nigeria is for the federal, state, and local governments to support the peasant and commercial farmers in times of money to buy farm implements, tools, and seeds or legumes to plant. Grant them long-time loan or grant, if possible, to ease farming activities in the country. They should also monitor all companies who pollute our farm and rivers, which is of a great disadvantage to all of us. If all these things are done without sentiment, it will encourage people to go into agricultural activities. Government can also hire piece of land, employ people to work on it, then invest it and sell it at cheaper rates. It can also help the masses. Amadi Excellence I hope I can pronounce your name, Excellence. Thank you very much for sending in that message. But let's go back to the phone lines now. 0817-923-0002 and 0817-923-0003 and 0817-923-0007. I'm looking at food security and how we can achieve food security in River State, given all of the factors I have reeled out, and there could be many more, by the way, but I'm more concerned about solutions, factors affecting food security in River State. But let's go to Bunny, where Nathaniel is calling from. Nathaniel, welcome.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, welcome, Nathaniel.
The fact is that the government at the different levels are not interested in development of agriculture.
Why'd you say so?
The reason is that the subsequent government have shown that they lack interest in agriculture, and all their interest is invested in oil. They start the oil and they get it very easily. They export it and then they begin to distribute it among member states. Look at River State, for how many years now? Which of the government has invested in agriculture? We have potential, like what we have in if you go to the area, you go to Victoria area, you go to HA area. These places I'm mentioning, they have vast location of land and area bushes that are not even used. That the state government can actually seize the opportunity and invest in agriculture even in those areas. Then if you come to Riverine area, you come to Kony area, go to Andoni area, go to Kalabari area, these places have open rivers. They can also use the opportunity to invest in heavy fishing by buying boats and then helping those local fishermen there, giving them the ideas, and then giving them those technical know-how and how to preserve those fishes and how to produce them in quantum and then distribute it even outside River State. And you will see that like in Nigeria as a whole, we continue to benefit from what River State is producing. And then the same thing applies to other states. use their potential from your state, develop your state. It's just that everybody rely on what the federal government can produce from oil and then begin to food all the state. And everybody just relax.
All right.
So for me, I think the government can even partner with private individuals who are also interested in all these things and then make it lasting and then produce it too.
All right. All right.
Areas government can enhance. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much. I've got Ola, who is at Eleme. Ola, welcome.
Yeah. Good evening, Canada.
Greetings to you.
Okay, I think one of the factors affecting food security, or some of the factors affecting food security, is the high cost of things. Now, I'm into fish farming, and for a very long time now, let's say 2 years plus now, I've not been able to produce up to 20% of my usual capacity.
So Ola, let me get you right. You're saying, when you say the high cost of things, you're talking about raw materials, yeah?
Not just raw material, everything.
Okay, everything.
Now, we don't have power, we don't have light. You need water to change for the fish.
Okay.
You have to buy diesel or fuel at a high cost to change water on a daily basis, or at least 2 times a day. Now, you also look at the cost of these feeds themselves. If the government could make subsidy for fish food, we don't even need subsidy for fish food. We don't even need to import them. There are raw materials in our northern states here. I don't see any reason why Eleme local government, for example, should not be able to produce fish food in Eleme or poultry feed in Eleme. I also don't see any reason why the Eleme local government chairman cannot set up a mechanized cassava factory where all the women within this Eleme local government can bring harvest their cassava and don't bother about how to sell it. Take it to the local government. The local government buys it, put it into the plant, and the plant will process it and fry the gari. We will have gari. We will also have other raw material that comes out of it. So if Eleme government takes care of gari and Andoni takes care of something else, we will not be worrying about food security. But in this situation, we have left it to the hands of commoners. Everybody just do things the way they want, and that's where the problem is coming from.
All right. Thank you very much, Ola. Ola's identified the problem and also preferred solution. Well, let's get your thoughts. It's almost time for a commercial. I'm going to read this message. Did I? Yeah, I think I've read Amadi Excellent's message. It was the one I couldn't call his other name. But let's come here. It says, hello, Canada. Some churches have been doing a lot to help ensure food abundance. You mentioned a church. It says some of the leading scientists will start a crossbreeding of plants where Catholic monks, you said right until now, if you go to monasteries, you will see vast areas of land dedicated to rearing animals and cultivating crops. I think other churches should emulate that if some haven't already started. That's a nice point raised by the caller Kingsley from Rumosi. And then you went ahead to say Gregor Mendel once, a monk, did a lot on genetic modification of plants. Most of his works are what modern scientists use to ensure food abundance. But then I'm thinking, what about faculties of agriculture in our various institutions in Rivers State? How are we nursing these institutions to ensure that we've got a robust agricultural sector in Rivers State? Anyways, let's come here. Just as we're just wasting our time suggesting for a state government like Rivers State to invest heavily on agriculture. We have been sounding this issue since God knows how long. They will not buy the idea. They will rather continue to build bridges and roads and those stuff that affect the people directly. As long as we keep practicing this kind of system where we go cap in hand to Abuja and come back and share the money, we will continue like this. Frank is being frank with his opinion, but I've got to step back for the time being for a commercial. But when I do return, we will go ahead to talk about defamation. And if many of Nigerians are very culpable when it comes to defamation and how we can tackle it, and if protest is the way to solve the problems in the judiciary. Good afternoon, please do stay tuned.
Nigeria Info.